welcome back. So we have now got collisions sorted. When this thing resets itself, you'll see that as soon as I hit a wall, we have a detected collision. Here it comes, boom, collision detected, light goes on. The thing that's missing though is that we need to tell the program that we have detected a collision. So help the program itself understand that a collision has taken place. So why is that important? Because if the program itself doesn't understand that you've hit a wall, then it doesn't know whether or not to tell you it's game over, or that you need to, you have lost one of your character's lives, or whatever the case may be. So we need to be able to make it kind of from a logic perspective clear that a collision has taken place. And in our case, when a collision takes place, we basically want to say, stop, it's game over, okay? So the way we're going to do that is we're going to say we have to do something new, which is we have to set what I guess we can describe it as a flag. We can say if it's game over, then obviously stop the game, or if it's not game over, carry on with the game. So what we're going to do is we're going to create this flag. We're going to create this variable, which is another Boolean variable, which we've used once before when creating the walls. The Boolean variable we're going to call game over. And we're going to start off by setting it equal to false. So at the beginning, is it game over? No, because it's set to false immediately. Perfect, that makes sense. Then what we're going to do is instead of saying at each of these positions, set the LED equal to on, we're going to say game over is equal to true. Right, that makes sense. So it's now, as soon as we hit a wall, we're setting this Boolean variable, this true or false variable, to true, okay? We sometimes refer to these as flags because it's like the flag is up, the flag is down. So while the flag is down, keep going, keep playing the game. The flag is up, whoa, something's got to change, okay? In this case, it's game over, so stop the game. Game over equals true. Okay, so logically now, we now know that the game is over, okay? This is pretty cool. Now what we need to do is be able to use that knowledge. The game now understands it's game over, so what we're going to do is say, as soon as it is game over, turn that LED on, okay? So, what we're going to do is say, let's see, where should we put this? Why don't we put this straight afterwards and say, if game over is equal to true, then we're going to do two things. Serial.println game over. So of course, if you're reading the serial monitor, it says that, and gamer.set LED true. Exactly what we did before, but this time it's all being handled a bit more logically. So let's have a look. We're going to upload that. As soon as it's uploaded, we're going to check to see if both the light and the monitor work simultaneously. Here it comes. Monitor goes on. Game reboots. Says started. We're playing. No light on. Light goes on. It says game over. It keeps on saying game over. Now, why does it keep on saying game over? It's slightly different than before. The reason is because it keeps checking always. Whenever the loop runs, it keeps running. If the game is over, then print game over and set the light to be true. Light to be on. And that keeps on happening every time the loop goes, right? Because nowhere in the loop are we saying game over is false. We're only always ever saying game over gets set to true once, as soon as it gets hit by a wall. But once it's set once, it's always set, because nowhere in the code are we saying game over equals false, right? So that's why it keeps repeating that, that phrase, game over, game over, game over. Okay, that makes sense. But now let's say we want to do something a bit more than what we've just seen there. Why don't we, first of all, why don't we end the game, right? That's the first part, because right now the game is, the wall is continuing to go even though it still says game over, right? So, and even though the LED is still on. So why don't we say as soon as you hit a wall, the game is over. So that means no more gameplay. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to look at our loop. We're going to again look through the logic of that and say, okay, right, first of all, we're clearing the screen. Then we're starting the walls. Right, so before we even start the walls, we need to check to see if the game is over. So I'm going to cut out this part of the code and I'm going to put it right after gamer.clear. Okay, so that makes a bit more sense. So first of all, it says clear the screen. Then it says check to see if it's game over before we do anything else. And if it is game over, do the following. But what we're not saying is, and if it isn't game over, do the following. We're just carrying on and doing it anyway. So what we're going to say is, one way to do this, you can say is if game over is equal to false. Then we're going to put all the rest of this code into a curly bracket. And we click on Tools and Auto Format to clean that up a little bit, right? So now it looks a little bit better formatted. So if game is equal to false, everything inside of the curly brackets I just created will happen only if the game over is not, has not been set to true. So let's run it again and see how it works. Right, game has just started. Here we are, we're playing the game. Game is great, and then we hit something, and oh, look at that, the whole thing paused. It stopped, red light went on, and in the serial monitor it would have said game over. Perfect, that's good news. But of course that's not very exciting, is it? So perhaps what we wanted to do is as soon as this happens, we want it to tell you as a player, game over. And there's a really great way that we've come up with to help you do that, and that is, again, with our very, very fancy cheat sheet. So if we look at our cheat sheet, and one of the sheets on the cheat sheet has a whole lot of characters. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, already nicely laid out for you. So the first thing I'm going to do inside of, as soon as we're inside of our game over and we've set our game over to be true, I'm then going to immediately start writing some text onto the display. And the way I do that is I'm going to literally copy, as easy as copying a character across like that. And then I'm going to put a little delay in there, say call it 200 milliseconds. And then I'm going to put the A character, so I've got GA. Put another delay in there of 200 milliseconds, just for the hell of it. There we go, and I'm going to upload that just to see if this actually, if my logic is making sense. Okay, game on. We're playing, we're playing, we're playing. We're going to hopefully hit a wall in a second, and boom, it says GA, GA. It keeps saying GA, 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 because now we're locked into the game over section of the game, right? The game over is true. Keep on saying game over. Perfect. Let's finish putting in the rest of that code, shall we? GAM. I'm going to copy this a few times. So there we have it, GAM, E, O, V, E. Oh, one more character after E. How exciting! R. Game over. There it is, game over. We don't need so many extra delays. Perfect. So now if I upload that, we should see as soon as we hit a wall, it says game over, and it just keeps on repeating that because we're stuck inside of that loop. Well, we're not inside of a loop, but we never change it from true to false. So game just restarted. Let's see what happens. I hit the game over and game over again and game over again. It's fantastic. Now, a couple of things that will maybe make this a little bit easier. Number one, the delay of 200 milliseconds between each character, you might want to change that to 250, you might want to change that to 300. So what we're going to do is we're going to create ourselves a variable called game over delay. Actually, I like using camel caps. There we go. Is equal to, and I'm going to set that equal to 250 milliseconds for now. And I'm going to replace our 200 there with that variable. So now every time I want to increase or decrease that speed, I just have to change it once. And I don't have to keep changing it in every single one of these delay functions that I'm calling. That helps a little bit. Another thing I'm going to want to do is maybe I want to, at the end of saying game over, I want to reset the game. How would I reset the game? Well, very easy. The first thing is you have to say game over is equal to false. So I'm going to say game over, so let's say reset game here, game over equals false. Right, so let's see what happens when I run this. Okay, let's see what happens. And, right, game over, much more legible. Oh, look at that. So whenever it finishes saying game over, it carries on from where the game was the last time it played. So actually we also have to reset all the variables. And to do that is really easy. We then have to say reset game and variables. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to copy and paste all of this stuff here. I've already set game over to false. And you can see I've still got all these declarations of the types in here. I'm just going to delete them. But at least I know that I'm not missing any. Now hopefully if I hit a wall, I will see the whole thing. So it'll say game over. There it is, game over. And, oh, started straight again, perfect. Oh, I hit it again, game over. Oh, let's go down there. Perfect, we survived, and then we hit this guy, and boom, game over, perfect. So it's exactly what we expected to happen. Fantastic. Well done, everyone, we're getting there. One more thing that we're gonna add to this little exploration is perhaps we want to, instead of just automatically starting the game again, because perhaps you need to take a break after doing so incredibly well, instead of just immediately going into the new game, why don't we use the start button to create the new game or restart the game. So what we're going to do is say, instead of immediately setting everything to game over equals false, I'm going to say if gamer dot is pressed. Now we used that function in the past. Let's look at the bottom here. Look there. Gamer dot is pressed up, down, left, right to know when we're moving the ship. I'm going to say if gamer dot is pressed start is equal to true, right? Then, actually I should say true, not 1. Then do this stuff. Okay, I'm going to click on tools and auto format again so it looks a little cleaner. There it is. See what it's done when I auto formatted? It took all of my characters that I copied from the cheat sheet and it reformatted them in the way that you see it on the cheat sheet. Look at that, perfect. So, game over equals false, there it is, there it is. If game is pressed start, let's see what happens. Let's see if it does that for us. Okay, so hopefully what we're expecting is it'll just stay in the loop of game over text until I push the start button. There it is, push the start button. There it is, and we just started again. Oh, I have to keep waiting until I push the start button, and I am back in. Perfect. And there you have it. Congratulations. You have now got a ship moving around, walls being created, a moment of truth when there's a collision so that you know whether or not it should be game over, telling the user, the gamer, you, that it's game over. We're pretty close to having a brilliant game, aren't we? In the next lesson, what we're going to do is explore the idea of points and making things more difficult over time.